The city lights blurred into a watercolor mess through the rain-streaked window of the bus. I leaned my head against the cool glass, the exhaustion of another 12-hour shift seeping into my bones. Another day, another dollar closer to paying for Lily's braces. My daughter, my world. She was the reason for everything, the tiny sun my entire universe revolved around. But sometimes, when the quiet of the night settled in, I felt the crushing weight of being her only planet. I'm a single dad. It's a title I wear with a strange mix of pride and sheer terror. 6 years ago, when Lily's mom left, my world tilted on its axis. Suddenly, it was just me and a 3-year-old with wide, questioning eyes. I learned to braid hair, pack lunches with little smiley faces drawn on the banana, and become an expert at monster checking under the bed. I became both mom and dad, a role I wouldn't trade for anything but the loneliness. That was a different kind of monster, one that no amount of checking could scare away. Tonight, the quiet was louder than usual. My babysitter, a sweet college kid, had texted earlier. "Lily's been asking about you all evening." My heart ached. I pictured her little face, probably pressed against the window, waiting for my bus to round the corner. The guilt was a constant companion. Was I working too much? Was I missing too many moments? The balance between providing for her and being present for her felt like walking a tightrope over a canyon. After I got home, tucked Lily into bed and read her 3 chapters of The Princess and the Dragon, I found myself staring at my own reflection in the dark living room window. The man looking back at me was tired. Not just work tired, but soul tired. The silence of the apartment was deafening. I needed to get out. Just for an hour. Just to be around other adults. To hear the murmur of conversation that wasn't about cartoons or homework. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I called the babysitter back, asked if she could stay another hour, and walked to a small quiet bar just a few blocks away. It wasn't about the drink. It was about escaping the echo chamber of my own thoughts. I found a stool at the far end of the bar, ordered a soda, and just watched. Watched people laughing, couples holding hands, friends sharing stories. It felt like watching a movie of a life I used to know. I was so lost in my thoughts that I didn't notice the person who slid onto the stool next to me until she spoke. "Rough day, Miller?" The voice was crisp, familiar, and instantly sent a jolt of panic through me.
Hi.
I turned slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was her, Miss Croft, my boss.
Oh, no.
The CEO of the entire company. A woman so sharp and put together, she probably organized her dreams in a spreadsheet. My mind raced. What was she doing here, in this dive bar? She was usually at fancy galas or charity events I only read about. "Ms. Croft," I stammered, my face flushing. Just unwinding. I felt like a teenager caught skipping school. Here I was looking like a wreck, and my impossibly polished boss was sitting right next to me. She looked different outside the office. Her hair was down, and she'd swapped her power suit for a simple sweater. She looked human. She ordered a drink, then turned back to me, her gaze surprisingly soft. "Me too," she said quietly. It's been one of those weeks. We sat in a strange, slightly awkward silence for a moment. I expected her to leave, to retreat back to her world. But she didn't. "You're a single dad, right?" she asked, her tone gentle. I nodded, surprised she knew. "Lily," she said, a small smile touching her lips. "You talk about her in the break room sometimes?" Her face lights up. The fact that she'd noticed something so small floored me. To me, I was just another employee, another cog in her corporate machine. "She's my everything," I said, the words coming out more easily than I expected. But sometimes, it's a lot. Being everything to one person. I hadn't meant to say it, to be so honest, but the words just tumbled out. For the first time in years, I was talking to another adult about how I really felt. To my utter astonishment, Ms. Croft Telenor, she told me to call her nodded in understanding. "I get it," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I know it's not the same, but after my husband passed away, this company became my child. I pour everything into it, and at the end of the day I come home to an empty house. The silence can be overwhelming, and just like that, the wall between us crumbled. She wasn't just my boss anymore. She was a person, just like me, dealing with her own kind of loneliness. We talked for an hour. It's not about work, Not about deadlines or quarterly reports. We talked about life, about the little moments that keep you going and the heavy ones that weigh you down. I told her about Lily learning to ride her bike, and she told me about a trip to Italy she took with her late husband. We discovered we both loved old black and white movies and had a shared ridiculous fear of spiders. We laughed. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had a real, genuine laugh with another adult. It felt like a spring rain after a long drought. For the first time, I saw the woman behind the CEO title. And I think maybe she saw the man behind the tired employee. When I finally looked at the time, I realized I had to get home. "Thank you, Eleanor," I said, feeling a warmth spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the bar's heating. For this, she smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "Thank you, Mark. I needed this too," as I walked home under the now clear, star-filled sky. The city didn't feel so lonely anymore. The weight on my shoulders felt a little lighter. I was still a single dad, and life was still going to be hard. But something had shifted. A chance encounter in a dimly lit bar had opened a door I didn't even know was there. The next Monday at work, there was a new energy between us, silent understanding. During a meeting, she caught my eye and gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. It was a tiny gesture, but it meant the world. A few days later, she stopped by my desk. "I have 2 tickets to a classic film festival this weekend," she said, trying to sound casual. "My friend bailed. I know it's short notice, but would you and Lily like to go?" My heart did a little flip. Lily loved movies and me. The idea of spending time with Eleanor outside of the office, as just Mark and Eleanor, was both terrifying and exhilarating. "We'd love that," I said, a grin spreading across my face. That weekend was a blur of popcorn, classic cinema, and easy conversation. Seeing Eleanor interact with Lily was the most surprising part. She listened intently to Lily's long, rambling stories about school and her best friend, Sarah. She didn't treat her like a kid to be tolerated, but like a fascinating little person. And Lily, my shy, sweet Lily, absolutely adored her. Life started to change in small, wonderful ways. We started having lunch together in the park near the office. We'd go for walks, talking about everything and nothing. I was rediscovering a part of myself I thought I'd lost forever, the part that wasn't just dad or employee. I was Mark again, and I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. One evening, after we'd put a sleepy Lily to bed after a day at the zoo, Eleanor and I were sitting on my small apartment balcony. The city lights twinkled below us. "You know," she said softly, her shoulder brushing against mine, "I haven't felt this content in a very long time." I looked at her, at the woman who had crashed into my life so unexpectedly. She wasn't my boss, not here. She was the person who saw me, who understood the silent struggles and the quiet joys. I reached out and took her hand. It felt right. "Me too," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You and Lily. You've brought the color back into my world." It turns out, sometimes the most unexpected moments are the ones that lead you exactly where you need to be. My life as a single dad is still a balancing act. But now, my tightrope doesn't feel so high, and the canyon below doesn't seem so deep, because now I have someone walking it with me. And for the first time in a very long time, the future doesn't look like a long, lonely road. It looks like an adventure. Thanks for watching.